Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and I'm so thrilled to be here in the beautiful and historic city of London from New York. And without further ado, the subject of my paper, The Leotard from Costume to Fitness Craze, stems from research that I conducted in 2020 for an article I was asked to write for the Vintage Woman magazine about the evolution of workout fashion. So that is women's dress for indoor exercise towards the goal of shaping up, and not clothing for any specific sport or outdoor activity. So through my research journey, what ended up really striking me was how the leotard really came to fill that niche, particularly practically unchallenged for about 4 decades, despite the many changes in women's fashion during that time. So during the early to mid-20th century, American women's magazines published depictions of women doing physical exercises while wearing loungewear, swimwear, and sportswear like a cotton knit play suit. One 1920 article in Ladies' Home Journal advised, quote, "Never exercise in corsets, nor with any restricting bands or clothes that hamper," end quote. So although these categories of garments were actually intended for other purposes, they all fit the requirements of workout clothing because they were non-restrictive, they were easily washed, and also form-fitting in the case of swimwear and the play suit. Of course, these terms also describe the leotard, which by the early 1940s was being introduced into women's wartime fashion for their warmth and layering. This 1943 Life magazine article quoted the Webster's Dictionary definition of leotard as being a short, close-fitting, sleeveless garment cut low in the neck in front and gusseted between the legs, worn by acrobats and aerial performers. Leotards were also associated with dancers like ballerinas. However, any mention of their use in exercise wear is noticeably absent. But that changed by the late 1950s. In 1958, an article published in Better Homes and Gardens outlined a musical exercise program to do at home, and the author suggested wearing shorts and a blouse, a bathing suit, or a bright leotard for the routine. The accompanying color photograph, which you can see here on the screen, depicted a woman wearing a sleeveless blue leotard with a scoop neckline and with mid-calf length leg coverage. The following year, Audrey Hepburn was photographed for Cosmopolitan magazine, demonstrating various yoga poses in a red unitard. During this time, brands such as Damskin and Capezio advertised their leotards in popular magazines as being for leisure and layering, but also for dance and exercise. In these advertisements from 1957 and 58, we see examples of Damskin's full-fashion, stretch nylon leotards with long and short sleeves, scoop necklines, and in the colors blue, black, and red. It was essential to wear tights underneath leotards without leg coverage, and here we see them paired with tights of a matching color, a contrasting color, or a nude flesh color. The rightmost image is a detail from a 1959 Capezio advertisement, and I'd just like to draw attention to how the leg line of this red cotton leotard provides very full coverage for the model's area. The leotard was just one of multiple options in fitness wear during the late 50s, but completely dominated this category during the 1960s. Despite the drastic ways American women's fashion had changed from 1958 to 1969, leotards were virtually identical. These images from 1964, 66, and 67 are good representations of what styles of leotards and tights were fashionable. And there are no real differences that we can detect between these images and those that I just showed on the previous slide, apart from the model's hair and makeup styling. The popularity and fashionability of physical exercise really exploded in America during the 1970s and 1980s in what has been called the fitness craze. So naturally, there was more consumer interest in activewear. In 1974, Women's Wear Daily reported that many department stores nationwide were planning to open exercise boutiques. And that corresponds with the introduction of the Sears exercise shop in their catalog. And based on women's magazines and Sears catalogs, it appears that the most fashionable workout ensemble throughout the 1970s was a monochrome leotard and tights combination, which we also saw in the late 50s and the 1960s, although now the most fashionable colors are a bit more subdued and earthy. I'd also like to draw attention to the two pink ensembles here on the slide from 1970 and 1977, and how they're basically identical despite being 7 years apart. And although their V neckline with a ruched detail may appear more updated, this was actually also a design feature of some 1960s danskin leotards. So I think this implies that women would have little motivation to purchase a new leotard if her old one still fit. What I've identified as the greatest innovations in leotard fashion from the 1970s are represented in this photograph taken for a 1976 danskin advertisement. We see leotard styles made from a nylon spandex blend that reveal a lot of skin at the back arms and décolletage, as well as a much higher cut leg line. I feel there is influence from the popularity of Diane von Furstenberg's wrap dress, designed in 1974, in the faux wrap neckline of the light blue center leotard. The style with the plunging V neckline and the crisscross spaghetti straps can also be found in a 1982 Sears catalog page, which we see on the right, and that page also features multiple faux wrap leotards and monochrome looks, so that makes all three of these quite enduring trends. Looking at the page on the left from a 1983 Sears catalog, what really sets these workout ensembles apart from those of the 1970s are the accessories, particularly the leg warmers, which were considered both fashionable and practical, as they were thought to prevent leg injuries and muscle cramps. But there was huge demand for more fashionable activewear, particularly because the gym was now a much more social setting. And by 1984, Sears began carrying much more varied leotards, like the ones we see on the right, from styles like the tutu leotard and suspender trunks and loud prints and novel designs made with fabrics of nylon, polyester, and spandex. That same year, Cosmopolitan magazine published an article titled "Getting Together a Sexy Workout Wardrobe," which began, quote, "Once upon a time, this sensible girl did her sit-ups and thigh lifts in a corroded black leotard, vintage 1974, and tattered maroon tights. She felt thoroughly at home in this comfortable old costume. The gym was the last place she thought of fashion." And continued, "In the 80s, this sensible girl saw that things had changed. She went on to urge readers to enhance their fitness style because the gym was now akin to a singles bar." As the late 1980s progressed into the 1990s, the fitness wear industry showed no signs of slowing down. The leotard and tights combo was still in fashion, and now with a very high-cut leg line and prints that place them firmly in their time. There's no mistaking these leotards for those of the 70s, 60s, or 50s. But what we can also see in these images from 1988 and 1992 is that activewear separates, such as a top and leggings with optional trunks, were now a fashionable option as well. But the first few years of the 2000s, fitness articles in women's magazines had really done away with the leotard in favor of separates, like in this 2002 image, where the model's outfit doesn't even appear to be activewear. Although leotards are still worn by gymnasts, dancers, and the like, today a sports bra and skin-tight leggings seem to be the women's gym uniform that the leotard once was. So, in conclusion, I believe that the leotard ultimately lost its status as the universal American women's workout costume because physical exercise has become so integrated into American women's lives that workout clothing needs to be something more practical, more comfortable, and more versatile. But although not quite suited for the 21st century lifestyle, as this paper has demonstrated, the tried and true leotard and tights combination was just the thing for 40 years of fitness wear.